Welcome to this very special edition of The Author's Voice with KAJ, a show where we explore the stories behind the stories. Here we dive into the worlds created by authors, discover their inspirations, and ensure that you walk away enriched and inspired. And today we have with us is Queen D. Michele. She is an author, blogger, New Earth representative, creator of 52 Insights for Gen Alpha, a conscious curriculum, and founder of Fula History and Genealogy Society in America, a non-profit organization. And today we'll be talking about her book, Traveling Home Together. Let's dive into the story behind the story. Welcome to the show, Queen.
Thank you, AJ. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited, and I love talking about traveling home together. So I'm ready to dive right in if you are. Now, the book is called Traveling Home Together. But let me tell you something. Um, and this is an advice for other writers who are writing and authors. Here's a quick tip. This is an 8-chapter book. I was into chapter 6. This book was entitled, it was not entitled at first, Traveling Home Together. It was entitled Walking Home Together. Walking Home Together. And then I was out with some friends. I was 6 chapters in, and I was out to lunch with some friends. And one of them said, "Oh, I just started a meditation book. I just started a meditation group. And our book is called Walking Home Together." And I said, "Hey, wait a minute. The book is called Walking Home Together." She said, "Yeah, it's by Raz Dam." And I looked it up, and sure enough, he's passed away now, but he had coined the phrase walking home together. So I was 6 chapters in. So here's a tip for other authors, writers: always check to see if that title is out there. And so I had 6 chapters in, I had to change the title to Traveling Home Together. Okay. So that's a quick tip. And I had to kind of go back and rewire some things. But I wanted to tell you, I can't wait to tell you about this book. Again, it's 8 chapters, and it's a very meaty, metaphoric journey. And let me ask you this, AJ, have you ever, I don't know how you did when you were going home from school, but people who, when we were kids, there were walkers who walked home from schools. It was those who rode their bikes. It was those who were picked up, but I was in the group of those who walked home from school. I was a walker throughout all my education. I walked home from school, and I want to preference that I wanted the readers to consider Earth as school, because I take them on this metaphoric journey. So let's consider Earth as school, and we are walking home from Earth. We're walking home from school. And as a writer, I write from my experience. So I could really write from my experience of walking home. And again, it's just 8 chapters. And each chapter is one of those things that kind of took place when you walked home from school. So I told my story, but then I delved them into very easily consciousness. Okay. And this book would really resonate with those who are awakening and those who are awakened and the newly awakened, because it helps them to navigate this shift in consciousness that they're experiencing. So take, for instance, chapter 1. Chapter 1 is entitled Holding Hands. That's something I did when I walked home from school with my friends as a little girl. We held hands. But after I explain my experience of holding hands, then I take them into connections. I start talking about connections, and I say that to consider your journey and the people throughout your life who join you. Some for a specific reason, some for a specific season, and then some for a lifetime. Okay, so I really dive into connections as it relates to holding hands when one walks home from school. Now, chapter 2, remember, it's just 8 chapters. Chapter 2, I talk about playing. Didn't we play? Well, at least I did. Walking home from school, we played all kind of games as we headed into our individual homes, walking home, traveling home together. We played games. And I asked the reader to consider the complete opposite scenario, because once we are adults and all that playing stops, all the playing stops, and it's all about work and business, raising kids, and this issue and that issue. But I remind the reader about playing, and I ask them to consider the complete opposite scenario where enhancing the quality of their life and doing the things that bring them joy is their only job here. That's their job here. Okay. And instead of, and I also continue throughout the book to encourage them to stop looking without and to look within. To look within. So that's the playing chapter. Now we move into chapter 3. Chapter 3, when I walked home from school, I took different routes sometimes. I didn't always take the same route going home from school. So I talk about different journey paths and the different paths that we take. I talk about that there is an ease when you're on your path, enjoying life. For this journey, it's supposed to be fun, right? So if you're not having fun with life, if it's beating you down and making you tired, and you find no joy in the simplicities of living, consider taking a different route, you know. And that's what chapter 3 is about. Now, chapter 4 is about listening. Now, listening. Well, when we walked home from school, there were all kinds of conversations always going on, jokes being told and stories being told. We were talking. So it was about listening. Now, this is an extremely important chapter because I introduce listening empathetically. Listening empathetically. I said, therefore, being diligent in listening empathetically to what your higher self, your soul self, is saying is the game changer. That's the game changer. Again, remember, I'm always guiding them from without, I'm guiding them inward through this book. So for that still small voice that knows all and wants to lead, guide, and direct you off the wheel and out of the matrix toward your highest and greatest good. So there's a little small paragraph that I wanted to read out the book about that still small voice. And here it is. There was one voice within when you were first born into this world. It had your undivided attention. As you grew into your humanness, a new voice was introduced through your senses. What you saw, heard, tasted, felt, and smelled drew you more and more into the physical world, and you lost touch with that non-physical connection that your flesh now clothed. You also lost touch with the essence of who you really are. As the world took over and the still small voice became smaller, the new stronger voice that grew within and pretty much took over was that of your ego. And so I get more and more into that. Again, it's a meaty metaphoric journey, but I'm relating it to walking home together. Chapter 4 is one of my is probably my favorite chapter, about listening empathetically to that still small voice inside. Now, chapter 5, when we walked home from school, we always kind of shared goodies. What was left, we may stop at the Dairy Queen. So we're sharing our goodies. We're sharing our candies or something that's left over for lunch, or we're sharing our chips, right? As we walked home together. So I equate that sharing your goodies with the whole of the community. I say you can serve the whole of the community, or the whole of humanity, actually, in a mighty way by just being. Capital B, capital E, ING. Being open to expanding your world and surrounding yourself with people who are doing the same. Yes, you serve the whole of humanity by just being. Okay, so sharing those goodies, being. That's chapter 5. Remember, it's 8 chapters. Now, chapter 6, it's interesting, and it's a it's about letting go. It's about letting go. Now, what do we let go when I was walking home? I had to let go. I talked about being teased. You know, kids can be really cruel. And I talked about a health condition that I had growing up called eczema, and how it made me look, and how I was teased unmercifully for that. Um, Walking home, and how we carry that baggage. We continue to carry that baggage of those hits we took, you know, of being teased when we were a child, you know, growing up. So in chapter 6, I say consider letting go of the unnecessary baggage while traveling home together. Shift your paradigm by putting your soul self in the front seat and your ego in the back seat. Be willing to at least consider exploring outside the box of the collective consciousness. In other words, consider that programming and conditioning that you had growing up. Chapter 6 is about letting go. Now, chapter 7, I asked the reader to consider. Chapter 7 is entitled Catching Rides. Because by the time I got to high school, it wasn't so much about walking. I had friends who had cars. And sometimes getting home, I caught a ride home from school. Okay. So chapter 7 is about catching rides. But it asks the reader to consider catching a ride in higher streams of consciousness while traveling home together. Okay. And I talk about how I use my EGS system, my emotional guidance system. You know how we have the GPS that guides us? Well, we have an innate EGS, and that EGS is our emotional guidance system. As one would use a GPS to navigate through, you use your EGS to navigate through the third, fourth, and fifth dimensions. The third, fourth, and fifth streams of consciousness. Okay. And that's explained. I explain in chapter 7 what's the third dimension? What is the fourth dimension? And what's the fifth dimension, which is new earth, living new earth. Now that's the fifth dimension, and it's a stream of consciousness. Okay. So I talk about that in chapter 5. I talk about catching rides. And then finally, in chapter 8, I ask the reader to consider enjoying the ride as they travel home together, enjoying the ride. And I would like to read something from that last chapter, chapter 8, enjoying the ride. Okay. And here it is. So many people all over the planet are waking up. Yet, I don't see many people of color in this community of thought. Most are struggling economically, going to church every Sunday, pleading, begging, crying out, raising holy hands, tithing, and listening to someone preach about an external God that will do everything for you someday. This external God will bless you if you bow down and worship, praise, and tithe. God is not human and does not require pleasing, praising, or worshiping as humans like. God is omnipotent, omnipotent, omnipresent, eternal, and above all human eccentricities. The best way to please, praise, and worship the God in you is to expand, experience, and create. Hu means God in Arabic. Thus, human actually means God man. We and our Creator are one. There is only one consciousness, and we are all individual expressions of that divine consciousness. Therefore, dear one, live, move forward, and have your beingness intentionally and purposely during your time here in Earth School. Find your bliss, have fun, feel good, and enjoy the ride. So that was the last paragraph of traveling home together. I used my experience of walking home from school. And remember, I couldn't use that title. So I had to go with traveling home together. But the same concept is there because that's really what we're all doing. We are traveling home together. And this book will resonate with those who, again, are awakening, who are newly awakened, because it helps and it equips them. And it's such a meaty, metaphoric type of 8-chapter book that I actually created a workbook to go along with it, because there are practices and exercises that one needs to incorporate into their way of being so that they can maintain that bandwidth, that stream of consciousness. If you want to resonate, if you want residence, you want to live in that stream of consciousness, then there are definitely practices and exercises. And those practices and exercises help to turn them inward into themselves, where it all takes place. This is my favorite expression. This is used throughout the book. I say this: God in me, expressed in form as me, is experiencing itself through me and is me. I and my Creator are one. I am one with all that is. And so that is the concept and the theme throughout traveling home together. There you have it, AJ. What you think?
Wonderful, wonderful. So, in terms of the importance of the book, what would you like to tell about the importance of the book in today's time? Looks like it is much more important in today's time to understand the deep meaning behind the book.
Absolutely. It's extremely important because, AJ, there is a mass awakening. There is a mass awakening taking place across the globe. And I am a light worker. I'm a way shower. I'm a frequency code holder, and I'm a new earth representative. And this book, because they are, it's a guidebook. It's because as you are awakening, you're questioning, your paradigm is shifting and you're questioning everything. So this book helps put those tools inside that newly awakened person, or that person who's awakening and they're struggling and they have questions. This guidebook answers those questions, and it puts the tools inside their hands to help them navigate the shift in consciousness that they are experiencing. And that's what awakening is all about. It's a shift in consciousness. You move out of where you were conditioned, where you were programmed. And that's what happened. You were conditioned, you were programmed. I say, if you got a couple of minutes, I just want to say something here in the book that talk about what happened. It talks about what is ego. It is who you believe you are. Most believe, as I did, that the thinking self is who we are. The thinking self, get this, is ego. Our ego grew as our thoughts and beliefs were downloaded in us during our formative years. It feels normal to operate and function from our ego, as it does serve a general purpose. The ego serves a general purpose, but it is not the general. Our ego is a built-in defense system. It's a thought producer, and it's a thought processor. But it is not who we are. We are not our ego. It shelves our biases, our perceptions, and our preferences unique to the experiences we've had, right? But the ego grew as we strengthened, fed, and relied on it far too much. Finally, we came to believe that we are that system, that producer of thoughts, and that processor. And I tell you what, the ego is quite satisfied with its seemingly perfect, permanent role as driver of the vessel that is you. Ego continually replays thought patterns that put it in the front seat position, and you asleep, separated from the truth of who you truly are. Ego loves its position and will fight to stay, but it has overstepped its purpose and needs to be put back in the back seat where it can still serve, but under your command, under the command of your soul self, under the command of your higher self. That's what's important right now in today's world. AJ, so many are waking up, and so many need this type of understanding of what's happening with them as their paradigm shift. And they need those tools in their hands to help them navigate that shift out of 3D and into new earth living. And new earth
Absolutely.
living is simply, and new earth, you can live new earth now. Yes, in this physical 3D realm, you can still live new earth, because new earth is not a place. It's a state of consciousness.
Absolutely. Absolutely great. So this particular book, any other book that you have or you are writing on, any other project that you are working on that you want the world to know about, Queen?
Well, absolutely. AJ, if they were to go to my website and click on store and then publications, they will see my other books. One book was, I don't know if you know this, but I'm in Mexico now. And I wrote a book about, and it's called Considerations, a guide for moving abroad. And I love my brand. My brand is entitled Considerations of the Soul. And that's all one can consider or not. Okay, nothing is pressed. Consider or not. So considerations, a guide for moving abroad, and considerations, consider uh, moving, having a paradigm shift in your consciousness. So considerations of the soul, considerations, a guide for moving abroad is on there. Of course, traveling home together and the workbook is on there. I have a blog entitled Flowing and Growing. And that blog is on my website, Considerations of the Soul. It's www.considerations of the soul. But now that blog is pretty much in the hands of my curriculum. I wrote a mindfulness curriculum for Generation Alpha. Generation Alpha was born between 2010 and 2024. Matter of fact, the oldest of that generation just turned 13 last year. So I have a conscious curriculum that helps to guide them into the realm that they are going. See, what we failed to do with Generation Alpha is to give them that balance that's needed. They're the first generation to be born fully in the 21st century. Man, this generation was swiping and clicking in infancy. Do you understand? And so they are a different breed, but get this, they are the breed that is responsible for the conscious evolution of humanity. They will be the largest generation in the history of the world. So why not put those tools in their hands that they need? Because what we failed to do with them, being that they were swiping and clicking from infancy, was to give them the emotional intelligence to balance that out, the social emotional intelligence. So what my curriculum does, which is called 52 Insights for Gen Alpha, a conscious curriculum. People could actually take a look at that curriculum on my website. Just click on 52 Insights. They'll get the backstory. But what I'm working on for the rest of this year, AJ, I'm getting ready to integrate that curriculum into an AI system, so that it can be marketable and actually be more consumable for Generation Alpha. So it came to me, it was downloaded that I need to take the curriculum at this time and incorporated or integrated into an AI system. So I'm getting ready to learn how to do that. So I'll be taking a course learning how to take, the content is there, but I now have to place that content into a system that is consumable and marketable for Generation Alpha. And I'm very excited about that. But any and everything they want to know about Queen D. Michele is on the www.fulaamerican.org website. And that website is for my nonprofit organization, where again I am speaking about that nonprofit organization. Fula is my native tribe from Africa. I took an African ancestry DNA test and discovered that on my maternal side that I am Fula. My original bloodline is Fula from Guinea-Bissau, West Africa. And I went and visited Fula, and I stepped foot back on my ancestral village in Guinea-Bissau, West Africa. And what that really means, AJ, is that my mother's, dating back anywhere between 200, 250 years, survived the passage. She didn't die on the ship. She didn't jump off the ship. She wasn't killed on the ship. She survived that transatlantic slave traffic to the Americas. Now, when she got here, she got mixed with a whole lot of other things due to breeding. But the original bloodline was that of the Fula people from Guinea-Bissau, West Africa. And so I returned from there and I started a website. I started a nonprofit that, first of all, just raises awareness about generational trauma. Okay. Because I truly believe that trauma is passed down through DNA. There has been scientific tests, scientifically proven that we hold trauma, unbeknownst to us, in our DNA. And so just to raise awareness, because if trauma can be passed down through DNA, I believe healing can be passed up. Even though it's unbeknownst to us, And that's what the nonprofit is all about, raising awareness, also about promoting and creating, promoting educational materials for Gen Alpha, and then connecting those who are of Fula ancestry back to their villages and their people and tribes in Africa. Africa the continent of Africa holds 54 sovereign countries. 54. That means different governments, money, everything. Sovereign countries. And they have 3,000 tribes and 2,000 languages. My native tongue, although I'll never speak it, is Pular. It is Pular. From Guinea-Bissau, West Africa, from the Fula tribe of Guinea-Bissau, West Africa. And it's so exciting. It's so, to gain that knowledge, even though I won't use it, just to have that knowledge, I can't tell you what it does to know those things, because remember, a lot of that was stripped in the not knowing, in the programming and conditioning that took place as a result of it. It's a game changer when you find that out, when you know who you are. It's a game changer. So that's me in a nutshell. So have them check out all of that. Matter of fact, I have a blog on that website. It's called My Soul's Journey Home. Because not only did I visit Guinea-Bissau, West Africa, I also visited Egypt. Spent 2 weeks in Egypt. I cruised the Nile, and pictures and videos, everything is in that blog, My Soul's Journey Home. It's 16 chapters. In chapter 7, they will actually see a video of me stepping foot back into my ancestral village. It's a video. It's really moving. So hopefully they'll check that out as well.
Absolutely. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the Author's Voice with KAJ. Thank you so much indeed.
You are so welcome.